We let me see. Okay. Oh, that's what's going on. So 1 second. Get that line out the way. All right, here we go. How y'all doing, everybody? This is Ray of RebelEars.com with the quick live stream on, if you're an audio engineer, producer, artist, and you're thinking of ways to book your own session and how to run a session, YL and I, we came up with some tips, ways to be successful. And just to let y'all know, YL is supposed to be here, but he had an emergency. So, um, I'm gonna talk to him later. But this is for different individuals trying to, get their foot in, trying to see exactly what kind of studios they want to book, the cost of rooms, A rooms, B rooms, what's the difference, and stuff in that nature. So the real quick, I'm gonna let y'all know. With me, I went to school for audio engineering. I interned at Castle Hill Studios. I booked a lot of sessions there. I worked with a lot of different artists, a lot of clients that YL and I still work with to this day. And a thing about that is, a lot of experience. I know a lot of people have questions like, well, how you know what's a good studio? How much to book the room for? How you keep clients keep coming in? Time after time. So YL and I, we came up with a list. We actually discussed this a while back, and we actually thought of how we was gonna do the live stream on this because this is probably going to be 20 25 minutes depending. But let's go ahead and start with different locations. So if you starting off, the first thing you coming up with, okay, what kind of studios, what studio, where are they? You can go ahead and Google's your friend. Go to Google, type in recording studios near me. Go to our social media, go to websites. Type in Google, and if they have a number, give them a call. Try to get in touch with the studio owner. You might get in touch with an intern because, of course, from experience, when you call the studio, most of the time it's the intern, unless they give you their personal cell phones. But if you're talking to an intern, let them know like you're interested in, you know, touring the studio, looking around, ask for their prices because most of the time, studios have A room, B room, C rooms could go all the way to D, E, F, G, depending on how big the studio is. Most studios I go to, they have A rooms, B rooms. And with me, what is beneficial for me, I like to see the price because the A room might be $50 an hour. That's the lowest. And the B room might be $30, and that's the lowest. I'm thinking for right now. Every studio is different, but even with that, you want to match the prices of, okay, so this studio is cost, the A room is like $80, but the A room at this studio is $75. So you got to just compare what kind of equipment they have because I know. Good example, Castle Hill Studio, they have a $10,000 mic in the A room. The Sony C800, it is an amazing microphone. And I know around the time when I was booking at that studio, it was, I think, 65, 70 an hour. So I was trying to like 90, 100 an hour just to, make money because the thing is, any studio you go to, you got to book the room. And then after you book the room, you got to think, okay, how much I want to get paid an hour from this client or artist. So with me, I was getting paid 25, $30 an hour. The most I made was like $50 an hour, but I was working in the A room. I was working with the studio owner's client because they needed someone to stay in the room after interning, and that was the person. Sorry. So with me, when I was making that much money, I was constantly, getting booked. I was getting a call from the studio owner. I might be at home. I might be coming to the studio, and they asked me if I want to stay for like 4 or 5 hours to book the room, and that was me interning. That's how I started, getting free sessions, paying for my own sessions, and the clients started coming in. So it was pretty easy that way. Another thing you want to think about any studio you go to, if you look around, you want to think of the atmosphere because with the atmosphere, you look around, you're thinking like, okay, the A room is spacious, it got a couch in here. The B room is huge. I know Castle Hill Studio, the A room is, they have a couch in there. It's enough space. They got an island in the middle with some outboard gear. So if for artists, engineer want to be creative, use some outboard gear, you could. A lot of A rooms have more outboard gear than the B room, depending on the size and what they offer. And you want to make sure the artist or your client is comfortable whenever they come into the studio. Tree Sound Studio is a huge studio, and I remember I believe the A room had its own kitchen, if I'm correct, because it was blocked off from the B room, C room, D room. They had so many rooms, especially if an artist wants to practice or rehearse in there. They had like open space over there. um, what I would recommend, connecting with different individuals. Anytime you go to a studio, connect with, if the studio owner's there, ask questions. If one of the main engineers there, if they have like a in-house engineer, ask if you can sit through one of their sessions, ask questions, because the more questions you ask, the more um knowledgeable you'll be, especially when it comes to, okay, this engineer used these plugins, he used this outboard gear, and he get these kind of clients paying him this amount of money. I gotta find out his methods, so when I book a session, I have a similar template that this engineer have, and it worked out for me because I learned a lot from Steve Hibicki, Max Unruh, Dan Cohen, and a lot of different engineers. But those are the three main ones that helped me to be where I'm at today. And with me, I'm always, encouraging people, if you want to book, learn more about the studio, intern, give your time to clean up the building, um, go through their records if they allow you, if you have experience and, been there for a while, help them with their books, the receipts, the invoices, um, of course, clean every session that's done. Make sure everything is in unity. Unity is mean like zeroed out. Clean up the studios every session. Artists leave a lot of stuff, trash, food, clean the ashtrays, stuff in that nature. Make sure if the studio provides it, leave water out, because that actually helps with the aesthetics of, if you're an intern and you're actually about to book it as an artist, the room is going to look presentable. And another thing, always stay in your budget. If you have a budget, never go under. In my opinion, I learned this from Henry with the three and from Steve Abicki. With Henry, I remember when he first started being an audio engineer, he was actually charging like 20, 25 an hour if he started. I believe he's like 60, 70 an hour if I'm correct. But he works with different artists. Of course, with long term artists or clients, they have a different range of pricing. So with me, I do know every year, if I'm correct, Henry used to go up $5 to $10 because of the equipment he was buying, the experience he was gaining, especially because he literally built out a home studio. He got some professional acoustic mastering acoustic builders. I try to figure out the right terminology, but basically they build studios for a living, not just home studio. They build massive multi-million dollar studios. So that's the thing you got to think about. He invested in himself, so of course you should go up on your price, especially if you bring in value for other people who wants to build with you. Okay, so now we're gonna go with blocks. So every studio they have 2, 4 hour, 8 hour blocks, because they don't just want you to book 1 hour and then that's it. They want you to book up to as many hours as you and the client can book. Now with this is a method I learned that can help you to get free studio time. So let's say the A room might charge around $50. That's the low ball, and you charge $80 or $75 to $80, depending on you, right? Because of course you gotta book the room, and then each hour you gotta get paid, and you might get paid $25 to $30 an hour just in that A room. In the B room, it's kind of similar because you can start off with, the room book for 30 an hour. You could charge the artist 55, 65, 55, $60. You make 20, 25, $30 an hour, right? So with this method, let's say you get in an 8 hour block and the artist says, okay, I just want to do 6 hours. Okay. So you got to think of it this way. Let's say if you are in, what room should we use? Let's use the B room. Okay. So it is, let's go with $60 an hour, right? Let me see. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this, because if you do 8 hours, I think that's what, 400. Ooh, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Yeah, I'm a little slow with math. I think that's like around 40, $48, I believe. no, $480 if I'm correct, depending on if the artist has that budget. So just want to make sure. Yep, $480, and that's for 8 hours. So you gotta think of it this way: if you might make what 480 minus 120, so the artist might be there for like what 360, and then you know 360, the studio makes you charge for 2 hours, and you still make money, but you also get free studio time. I had to think off the top because it's been a minute since I had to book like that much on sessions. It's been a while, but you got to think of it. You make a lot of money booking rooms, especially if you have reoccurring clients, especially if you're a professional audio engineer. So with me, YL and I, we with both of our ebooks, mine is 10 quick tips to be a successful audio engineer, and YL's book is 10 easy tips to attract reoccurring clients. And out of each ebook has 10 tips. And I'm gonna go through a few of them that actually can help you to book your sessions and also to keep clients coming in so you can run it. With YL's ebook, he was talking about proper preparation. And me, I was talking about start before the start. So proper preparation, you want to make sure that everything's prepared before the artists even get there. Start before the start, that means being there 10, 15 minutes before the artists get there, because you got to think of it this way. If you're working with an artist, you want to get there ahead of time, especially if they have their own template. If y'all been recording for a while and they're familiar with you want to make sure it's beneficial for them to come in the studio. They can just walk in the booth and y'all can just go ahead and start the session. Now, with me, like I said, I like to have a template for each artist I work with. If I worked with them for X amount of time, I like to have like I think like 10-ounce water bottles just for them, because of course every artist probably, they have their own drinks. They might have tea, alcohol, um, water. You never know what an artist might need, but you just want to make sure it's prepped for them. So when they start, they have a great session. Now, these two tips are in YL's ebook. Um, know your client and building valuable relationships, because of course you get in contact with a client. You gotta know exactly what they want, what do they expect as soon as they come in the studio. And then when it comes to building valuable relationships, you got to make sure that every time they walk in the studio, they feel value. They feel like they're number one priority. Um, with me, this actually deals with one of my tips in my ebook. Be open to listen, because that'll help you to build valuable relationships. Because if you are open, listening, saying, "Okay, I see exactly what you want out of this session. Let me see how we can make it work," and then they might ask for your opinion. With me, if they're open for criticism, I'm great with constructive criticism for artists and clients, because I know everybody want to get paid for, of course, we want to get paid for the time we put in, but they want to make sure the money they spending is worth it. Okay. Another one, know your position, know your job. Of course, you're an audio engineer. You should already know how to use the gear. Understand troubleshooting. If there's an issue in the studio, if there's an intern there who knows the equipment, of course, get the intern to fix it, because you do not want to be held accountable if anything happens to one of the equipment, like um, outboard gear you try to fix, might run you $3,000, and I've seen it a lot of times. Um, know your plugins and softwares, because of course they got outboard gear there, but it's good to work in the box at times. Um, with YL and I, we use Pro Tools, we use Waves plugins, Universal Audio plugins, Fab Filter, Soundtoy. There's so many different plugins and so many different softwares, but we stay in the realms of Pro Tools. I know Henry with the three and Jay Padron, they use Logic. I know a lot of people who use Logic. I know a lot of people who use Pro Tools. Ableton, Cubase, the window, the list goes on, Free Loops. And with that, you really want to make sure that if you work with a client, if you're a producer and you work with another producer, you want to make sure y'all have the same software, or you'll understand about tracking out, sending the stems for the next producer, so y'all can work on the same production on different. DAWs, digital audio workstations. Um, this is a great tip from YL in his ebook. Don't compare, just satisfy. Because I worked with so many different engineers. Because sometimes you might be assistant engineer, or the mixing engineer, or the recording engineer, or you might be co-engineer with another engineer, and they might feel like entitled to get it to a certain level. I learned this the hard way. No mix is finished until you feel like it is. Because you got to think of it this way: how you know for a fact it's finished? Because the vocals might sound crisp, but there might be something with the drums. The drums might be amazing, but there might be something with the instruments. But I remember the engineer for So Fresh and So Clean. He said something about the drums irritate him to this day, and that's a classic track. So you never know until it's done, until it goes out to the public. Um, so three more tips out of my ebook. Treat it professionally. I remember we was talking about building valuable relationships with your clients. Be open to listen, but treat it professionally. As soon as you walk in, you gotta treat it like a 9 to 5. You are clocking in. You are audio engineer, mixing, recording, mastering, whatever it is. If the client's there, or the artist, or even if they send a session to you, you know, let's say you're working from home, the hours you put in should be the hours you would put in at a job. Staying focused, making sure everything is done. So the next time they hit you up, they can be like, "Oh man, you got it done real quick." But make sure you give yourself enough time to get it done. Number one, okay, this should be the last one. Number one, get paid. Now, this is the big thing that YL and I preach on, especially, majority of the studios we go to, they always want a deposit, which I understand completely. You always want to get a deposit from an artist or a client, because there's so many times in the past when I was first starting booking sessions, I was just getting artists to come through without putting a deposit down. And it actually messed up my face card, because the thing is, let's say you call up a studio saying, okay, I want to book 4 hours this day. Okay, what time? Okay, I'll be there. And the artist might hit you the day before or the same day talking about they're not going to be able to make it. They had an emergency, because sometimes it happens, but I do know there's times where different artists, they'll just book a session and they'll be like, you know what? I don't feel like it. I'm not coming in the studio today. I got, other things to do. When you have a deposit, the artists feel more accountable on coming through the session, because of course there's money involved. So always, always, always get a deposit. No matter if it's a friend, family member, because the thing is, it's a business, and you want to make sure with that business, you gotta stay focused. Now, with Steve Hibicki, I forgot to say this because I was talking about Henry with the three and Steve Hibicki when they caught when stay in your budget of how much you charge per hour. I remember Steve was telling me, I think this was either when he got a Grammy nomination, or getting his first platinum plaque or gold plaque. He was saying, right now I could charge more. I could charge, I think, 25 to 50 more dollars an hour. And I know there was, I'm trying to remember the highest. He got paid a few thousands an hour. So you got to think of it that way. Up in his, he is high on the totem pole, especially as an audio engineer. I remember he told me a story on Jason Joshua. Shout out to Jason Joshua. He gets paid. Well, this was a few years ago when Steve Hibicki told me, when I was first learned about audio engineering. He was getting paid $10,000 an hour. So you got to think of it that way. There's a lot of engineers, artists. There's a lot of engineers making that much money an hour, and it's crazy because you got to think of it this way. He is putting tracks that's on the Billboard 100 list. Okay, you might have to correct me if I'm wrong. It might be $10,000 a day or an hour, because I'm thinking in 8 hours he made just 80,000. But I wouldn't be surprised because the money is in the industry. Um, so yeah, even if that's a day for a mix, it might be for a mix. $10,000 a mix. That sound that sounds about right. But hey, especially if putting records on the radio consistently. Oh yeah, the money is coming in. And let me see, going through my list, if I tackled everything. I want to make sure that everybody gets the information that they need, especially if you want to be successful. Even as an artist, you want to be an engineer, learning the tricks and trades. Hey, you can go to the website at YouTube on our YouTube channel at Rebel Ears Podcast. Check it out. Go back through it. Listen to the Rebel Ears Podcast. Go to our website, rebelears.com, and download both of the ebooks I was talking about, YL and my ebook 10 quick tips to be a successful audio engineer, and YL's ebook 10 easy tips on attracting reoccurring clients. You know, go ahead, get interact with different studios, interact with different artists, producers, engineers, build your clientele. You know what? You should make a goal by the end of the year, or if it's the end of the year, by the beginning of next year, whatever you're trying to do, you should have at least an extra 50 to 75 more contacts in your phone. So that's probably like 5 6 a month maybe. It's possible. it's th- Especially if you're focused. So make sure you focus on you know building your clientele. Make sure you build in you know your your experience, your knowledge. Always ask questions, always do research, go to different studios, use their equipment so you can bring more value. So this is Ray at rebelears.com. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the notification so you can get updates on future episodes. Hit the like button and don't forget to leave a comment, because who knows, your next comment might be our next episode. So from everybody at rebelears.com, NYL, we just want to say thank you for watching and keep tuning in. All right. And